This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Campus Ivy Student Self-Registration Training. In today's training, what we're going to review is how your students are able to essentially self-register themselves into the core environment. Once they are entered into the core, once they register themselves into the core environment, you will then be able to validate that enrollment, make some updates to it, and essentially the student will be officially added into the core system. So once you are logged on to your workflow page, over to the right, you're going to see a link section. And one of those hyperlinks is important information links. So if you click on that, that is going to provide to you the web address for your students to self-register. So this is something that can be added to your institution's website, and you can direct your student to the link to self-register themselves into the core system. And you have an option here to copy that link. Once you copy that link, you can paste it into your web browser, and it brings you to the student registration screen. Now, here, the student information, the student has the option to give themselves an ID if you provide it to them. If not, you will have the ability to update that information afterwards. So typically, in more than likely, this will always be left blank. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go through the steps of a student entering in them or registering themselves here. Okay, so once they've registered the first name, last name, whether they are a citizen, their date of birth, social security number, the student could then hit next. Now the citizen's question is if you're dealing with a student that is a eligible non-citizen, this would actually be a no. Regular U.S. citizen, of course, would be yes. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to hit next here. So this brings me to the address information. Okay, enter in the zip code. Their email address, phone number, and then the SMS opt-out. So here it does highlight for the student if they would like to receive a text from the school, choose no. Of course, if they don't want to receive it, they would choose yes. So in this case, I'll just leave it as no. Then you hit next. And then here's where the student would select their institution information. So they'll have a drop down of list of programs configured in your environment. They choose their program, the location, and then their start date essentially. Okay, and then proof of graduation. They'll have options here to choose whatever if they completed GED or high school diploma. Now this view tuition cost and financial estimate. So you will leave this as a yes. Basically all the time. And the reason is because once the student adds themselves and registers themselves, the system is going to go out there and look for the student's ISER in order to develop this tuition cost and financial estimate for the student. So this is probably yes all the time. And then once a student is completed this screen, they hit submit. Okay, and then the system will go through its validation. And then the next screen that you will see is essentially a congratulations. Congratulations, Jane Doe. You have successfully completed the registration and initial enrollment process. In this case, we cannot generate your funding estimate at this time because there's no ISER on file for you. So if the student had added your school code to the FAFSA and we have it within the system, it would generate a funding estimate for the student, kind of give them more or less an idea of what their financial aid will look like against their tuition costs. So at this point, your job at the institution is to now go back into Core. And once you're logged back into Core, under that same section where it says links, you're going to choose manual package. So here's the section that says links, and here's manual packages. So manual packages, again, this houses all of your students that are within your environment. And once you're on the manual package screen, under package type, you'll have a drop down. You would choose student initiated packages. So here you'll see there's 2 students that self-registered. And essentially you're going to go here and validate it. So you would hit edit if you need, so you can add the student ID for the student, maybe update their enrollment status from here. You'll be able to correct their program if it was entered incorrectly, adjust their start date. You're going to have to enter in a grad date. The system will require you to enter in a graduation date, anticipated graduation date. And then here in the unit section, you'll be able to update this information as well. So if the student has any transfer units, you enter them here. If you're dealing with a clock hour non-term institution, this remaining value is going to be the academic year value. So in most cases, it's 900 hours in a non-term world or clock hour world. And then in a term world, it could be 24 for your semester schools, or for the quarter schools, 36. You would enter in here. Now, as far as earned units, if you are entering any transfer units, you are going to want to enter those same transfer units in the earned section. Okay, and I'm going to enter in here a grad date. Okay, and then your schedule. So in a non-term world, if we're dealing with payment periods for a normal 900-hour clock hour program or academic year, you would enter in here 450. Okay, if you're dealing with a term-based institution, you would be entering here 12 credits for full-time, or even 15, just depends, 9 for quarter time, and so on and so on. And then, and we'll just use 9 here for this example. And then attempted, the student hasn't attempted any credits or units yet, so that can be left at 0. And then just below that, you'll have the student information, so you can correct the social security number or date of birth. You can make those adjustments. Just keep in mind that the system is driven by unique values, and those unique values are the student ID, social security number, date of birth, and the student's name. So you want to ensure that the student is entering those values correctly in order to not cause any issues later on. Okay, and then you have the academic information here. And then here are the warnings or errors. So this is already letting me know that the graduation date needs to be entered. Okay, so in this case, I entered in my graduation date. Okay, and I'm done with the student, so I want to update those values. So as you can see, remove the errors, and I have my graduation date there. If I need to edit it again, I can just hit edit. Okay, now once you're done validating the student's enrollment, you would just select Process Imported Packages. Okay, the system is going to take a little bit to make sure those validations go through. And once those validations go through, it's going to automatically bring you to the student packages. So this is, again, where all your students are housed. And that's simply just a drop down. So you can move from screen to screen using the drop down. And then you'll see at the very top is that enrollment that you validated here. Okay, and then again, you can always edit it here directly as well and make any changes that you need to make. Okay, and that concludes the training for student self-registration. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you.